Bears fans have been riding an emotional roller coaster this season, and nothing illustrates that swing better than the sudden rise of a rookie who, ha paucas semanas, muita gente tratava como decepção precoce. When Chicago stumbled out of the gate with 2 straight losses, frustration spread fast, and it did not take long for some fans to look at Colston Loveland and wonder if the front office had misfired. But just like the panic that followed that rough start, the rush to label him a bust is aging about, as well as an opposing defense trying to chase him in the open field. Chicago's win over Pittsburgh served as a reminder of how quickly things can flip in this league. From an early season mess to 8 victories in their last 9 games, the Bears now sit comfortably atop the NFC North, and Loveland has been one of the quiet keys to this turnaround. The comparison that follows him everywhere, the one with Tyler Warren, is no longer a lopsided debate. What once looked like a mismatch has evolved into one of the more fascinating rookie battles in the conference. Back in the early weeks of the season, the contrast between the two tight ends felt harsh. Warren exploded immediately in Indianapolis, piling up catches and looking every bit like the 5-star prospect many projected. Meanwhile, Loveland dealt with a nagging hip issue, limited snaps, and the pressure of being a top 10 selection. It was easy fuel for anyone eager to question the decision to bring him to Chicago. Around week 4, the conversation was blunt, and the question practically answered itself for many fans convinced the Bears chose the wrong player. Now that stretch feels like it happened an entire season ago. Loveland has caught stride in a way that is impossible to ignore, especially for a player asked to gel quickly with a young quarterback running one of the most complex offensive systems in the league. Caleb Williams leans on him more each week, and the chemistry between them is becoming one of the offense's most reliable sparks. While Warren's production has dipped slightly after his blazing start, Loveland's arrow continues to rise, and the gap between their rookie seasons is no longer the gulf it once appeared to be. Just look at the recent month of football. Loveland's surge has been impossible to overlook. He has stacked catch after catch, piling up yardage and punching in touchdowns at crucial moments. His breakout touchdown against Pittsburgh was just another example of how often he has come through when Chicago needs him most. And of course, fans will not soon forget that wild 58-yard catch and run he turned into the season-saving lightning bolt against Cincinnati with only seconds left on the clock. Plays like that do not happen by accident. They happen when a rookie stops thinking like a rookie. To be clear, Warren is still having a phenomenal year. He sits near the top of the league among tight ends in receptions and yards, thriving in an offense that feeds him opportunities in space. But Loveland has climbed steadily into the conversation, ranking higher each week as he shakes off that slow start and grows comfortable in Chicago's scheme. The distance between them, once huge, now feels more like a competitive rivalry that may follow both players for years. The storyline becomes even more compelling when you remember how shocking that draft night moment was. Chicago stuck its neck out choosing Loveland with the 10th pick, a decision few analysts saw coming. Warren went only 4 slots later, fueling instant comparisons that only intensified once the season began. And yet here we are, watching both players establish themselves as legitimate young stars, rendering the early criticism premature at best. While all eyes have been on the tight ends, the Bears have been dealing with another narrative swirl surrounding Caleb Williams. His performance against Pittsburgh was a prime example of how misleading box score numbers can be. On paper, he threw for 239 yards, tossed 3 touchdowns, and avoided interceptions, finishing with an impressive passer rating. But if you watch the game, you saw a quarterback fighting through mechanical inconsistencies, uncomfortable timing, and misfires that nearly cost the team points in key moments. His completion percentage told the truth that the scoreboard hid. Passes sailed just a bit too far, arrived just a bit too late, or came in just a bit behind the intended target. Even his completed throws sometimes carried the sense that something was slightly off in his mechanics. And then there was that ugly sack fumble near the end zone, the kind of mistake that would have triggered a week-long meltdown across the city had Chicago not clawed out the win. But the fascinating part is what happened after that mistake. Instead of folding or panicking, Williams walked back onto the field with the same relaxed swagger he always has, and he orchestrated 3 more scoring drives as if nothing had happened. That unshakable calm has earned him the nickname Iceman inside the locker room, a moniker that reflects more than just cool confidence. It reflects resilience, the trait Chicago has been starving for in a quarterback for years. And for anyone worried about a so-called bad game, consider this. If an off day still ends with nearly 4,000 projected yards on the season, more than 24 touchdowns, and another comeback victory, then maybe the Bears finally have exactly what they have been searching for over the past decades of quarterback chaos. Remember, Williams is learning an offense that demands total mastery of pre-snap reads, post-snap adjustments, and complex timing routes. He turned 24 only days ago. Growing pains were inevitable, yet even those rough moments are producing victories. The real optimism comes from how the offense functions around him. Chicago did not run the ball well against Pittsburgh. Both DeAndre Swift and Kyle Manengai found little room to operate, fighting for every inch in a ground game that could not establish rhythm. Without balance, most quarterbacks struggle. Williams struggled too, just not enough to derail the team. He adapted, trusted his playmakers, and leaned on players like Loveland when things got messy. There is something brewing here, something that feels different from other hopeful seasons the Bears have had in the past. The confidence on the sideline is real. The belief in the locker room is real. The growth of young players like Loveland, the maturity of Williams, the resilience of a team that was left for dead after an early stumble. It all feels like a group discovering who they are in real time, right in front of us. What really stands out as this Bear season unfolds is the way every young piece is growing at the same time, almost like the roster collectively decided to flip the script on the doubts that surrounded them in September. You can feel that shift every time the offense steps onto the field. It is not always clean, it is not always pretty, but it is full of confidence, and that confidence is contagious. Colston Loveland embodies that more than anyone. Each week, he looks less like a rookie finding his footing and more like a tight end who already knows exactly how dangerous he can be in this offense. There was a moment late in the third quarter against Pittsburgh when Chicago needed someone to settle things down, someone to make a play that would reset the tone after a series of sloppy drives. Williams dropped back, the Steelers sent pressure, and Loveland split the seam with timing that looked like it belonged to a veteran who has run that route 1,000 times. The throw arrived just in time. Loveland twisted upfield, absorbed a hit, and kept the chains moving. It was not a highlight, not something that will end up on social media clips, but those are the plays that show who a player really is becoming. They are the moments that turn rookies into pillars of an offense. Meanwhile, the narrative surrounding Tyler Warren across the league remains impressive, but the comparison between him and Loveland is shifting into something far more interesting. Instead of one player clearly overshadowing the other, it is starting to resemble a duel between two rising stars whose careers will inevitably be tied together for years. Every time Warren flashes his yards after catch ability, Loveland answers with another clutch grab. Every time Warren shows why he was so highly touted, Loveland reminds everyone why the Bears believed so strongly in him back in April. The rivalry feels less like a mistake to correct and more like a storyline that will define a generation of tight end play. Even with all the excitement surrounding the rookies, the heartbeat of this team remains Caleb Williams. And that is exactly why his rough afternoon against Pittsburgh might actually be the best development the Bears could have asked for. Think about what it means when a quarterback struggles that much with his accuracy, misses throws he usually hits, fumbles in a disastrous spot on the field, and still walks off with a road victory against a historically physical defense. That means your quarterback is learning how to win games even when he does not have his best stuff. That is the difference between a talented passer and a franchise leader. Chicago fans have seen plenty of quarterbacks who could throw a nice deep ball or move around the pocket, but completely collapsed when adversity hit. Williams had every excuse to unravel in that game. The run game was stuck, the line was inconsistent, the defense gave up big plays early, and he was clearly out of rhythm. Yet there he was, fourth quarter, tie game, marching the offense downfield with steady poise. Receivers ran crisper routes. Williams' footwork tightened up, and Loveland once again became his safety valve when the game demanded precision. That is what this new identity looks like, a team that does not crumble when things go sideways. A team where young players do not shrink from the moment. A team that can take a bad half of football and still walk out with the scoreboard leaning their way. It is something Bears fans have been desperate to see for decades, and it is finally taking shape. Another dimension worth noticing is the shift in culture. You can see it in small moments on the sideline. Williams walking by his linemen and giving each one a pat on the shoulder after a tough series. Defensive players rallying to the offense after a turnover instead of pointing fingers. Young receivers reminding each other to reset mentally after a dropped pass. Loveland talking to Williams immediately after a miscommunication on a route, both of them nodding, adjusting, ready to run it again the next drive. These are the types of interactions that reveal the true chemistry of a team. Even the mistakes are different now. In years past, errors felt like anchors that dragged Chicago down for entire halves, sometimes entire games. One interception turning into 3. One blown assignment turning into 2 quarters of panic. But this season, mistakes seem to trigger a different response. The fumble against Pittsburgh should have rattled Williams badly. Yet as soon as he walked back into the huddle, he looked completely unfazed, calling the next play with the same tone as if he had just thrown a touchdown. That demeanor spreads. Players look around and see their quarterback refusing to blink, and suddenly everyone else stops blinking too. The development of the offense is also pushing the defense to elevate its play. Even though the defense has taken its hits throughout the season, especially early, there's a visible edge to the unit now. They are playing faster, swarming to the ball, and thriving because they no longer feel like the entire weight of the franchise rests on their shoulders. Knowing the offense can bail them out gives them freedom to be aggressive. It gives them permission to take risks that turn into momentum-swinging plays. The Bears are not a finished product. They still have glaring issues to fix, and there are games ahead that will expose weaknesses just like every other team in the league. But the foundation being built, the chemistry, the leadership, the development of Loveland, and the maturation of Williams, all point towards something that has not existed in Chicago in a very long time. Sustainable, long-term growth at the most important positions on the field. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL rumor mill is buzzing with what could be one of the most shocking ultimatums in recent memory. Caleb Williams, the rising star quarterback whose talent has had scouts and fans alike on the edge of their seats, reportedly dropped a bombshell that has everyone talking. According to sources close to the situation, Williams has allegedly issued a clear ultimatum regarding his potential future in the league. If he ends up being traded to the Chicago Bears, he will immediately request a release. This revelation, though unconfirmed by the player himself or his representatives, has sent shockwaves through the league's rumor circuits. The Bears, a team with a storied history but a recent string of quarterback instability, are reportedly in the mix for several high-profile talents, and Williams' name has surfaced more than once in trade speculations. For a young quarterback already commanding attention for his poise, accuracy, and leadership, the notion of turning down a team like Chicago seems both bold and unprecedented. Insiders suggest that Williams' alleged ultimatum is tied to the fit and culture of the team, as well as the coaching staff's vision for the offense. Known for his high football IQ and competitive drive, Williams might view a move to Chicago as a misalignment with his career goals, potentially stalling the momentum he has built. The mere suggestion that a player of his caliber would publicly set conditions for a potential trade has added fuel to the fire, prompting fans and analysts to dissect every possible implication. Social media is already alight with debates. Is this a power move to control his own destiny, or merely a rumor blown out of proportion by eager insiders? Analysts are split, but one thing is clear. The Bears front office now faces speculation of an ultimatum that could influence trade negotiations and draft strategies. As whispers grow louder, one question dominates every conversation. Will Caleb Williams ever actually see himself in Chicago, or is this the start of a narrative that could shape the league's quarterback landscape for years to come? For now, the story is far from over. Teams, fans, and pundits will be watching closely, trying to gauge whether this rumored ultimatum is a negotiating tactic, a personal preference, or the beginning of a new chapter in the Caleb Williams saga. One thing is certain, the NFL offseason just got a lot more interesting. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.